We get started right away here. So polite. Thank you for quieting down nicely on time. We're starting right at 6 o'clock. We have a jam-packed agenda for you. I'm not going to ace grab the clicker. So I'm going to start off. My name is Andrew Williams. I'm part of the TPMA board. I'm also the director of product at Vertical City. So just starting off with a land acknowledgement, we acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So thank you so much for coming here today. And to get us started, we talk about this wonderful space that we're in, and it's provided to us by the company in Delaware. I've got Andrew Pitch here, who's going to say a few words about this.
Great, thanks, Andrew. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, I'm just going to talk out loud. I'll be quick. So, can you hear me okay back there?
Yeah.
Great. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to see such a good group out here tonight. It really is an honor for us to host this event. We hosted one just recently for TPMA, and it was a big success. And it's great to be back here supporting the group again today. IntelliWare is a place that really believes in community, whether it be the community of our staff that work together on a daily basis, whether it be the community of clients that we have that we're honored to have and work with, or the people out there in the broader community that we want to share ideas with and get to know better. I think tonight's content is going to be very fascinating. We spend a bunch of time thinking about AI from a technical perspective, so it's going to be really interesting to hear about it from a product perspective. IntelliWare is a business strategy and technology consulting firm, and we've been around for a very long time. We have lots of exciting projects going on with a very wide range of clients. So feel free to go to our website and find out more about us. In terms of our location here today, we've been here for a long time. We're really proud of it. We've done some rentals of the space in the recent past, and we want to share it with you guys tonight. So I hope you're all feeling very welcome. We've got food and drinks here. Bathrooms are just back this way if you need them. Sonia's around, floating around here somewhere. Sonia's right here with her hands up. So she'll be your hostess tonight. If you need anything specific, feel free to track her down. Once again, welcome. I hope you guys really enjoy tonight.
Big round of applause for IntelliWare. We also have a few other sponsors, Marilyn Bassett and Lightster. So please just give a round of applause for these two amazing organizations. They make the TPMA fun. Also, would not be possible without our amazing volunteer staff. We have a big group of people working behind the scenes in events, in mentorship, in the book club, content, and volunteer management. So a quick round of applause for the volunteers. One quick note, so if you signed up for our mentorship program, registrations are now closed. I think we've had a record sign up on both on mentors and mentees. And so expect November 3rd, there'll be the official program kickoff. So just FYI. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. The AI double feature, building AI products and product management using AI. So I am really honored to welcome Nahla Salem. She's a product leader with over 17 years of experience in the software industry, specializing in building teams and managing large-scale complex products. She's an advocate for empowered product teams and has set up cross-functional product development teams in 4 different companies. And her product experience spans machine learning, B2B products, and marketplaces. Nahla is currently the head of product at climate startup tech Haven Energy, and before that, she was part of Yelp's B2B machine learning team, as well as several other growth stage Toronto startups. As a speaker, she's also been featured at Product School, Product Tank, ML Ops World, Scale Tech, and a Europe-based product-led festival. And she's going to be moderating the discussion tonight, so please give us a big round of applause.
Hello everyone, nice to see everyone here tonight. We have a wonderful talk today. It will be at the intersection of AI and product management. At the end of this talk, hopefully you will get to know whether AI is going to take over your job. So what's going to happen is that we have two keynotes by two wonderful speakers, and then we're going to follow that up by a Q&A session. We're using Slido tonight, and the code is on the screen already. So please either use your browser or the Slido app to log in. Feel free to post a question whenever, and then I'll be coming back to them at the end of the talk. So let's get started. Our first keynote today is by Adam Haines, and Adam is the VP of Product at Blue Jay Legal, which is a legal technology company bringing absolute clarity to the law. I'm sure that's very easy. Adam has 20 years of experience delivering and growing products and was recognized by Report on Business magazine as one of their 2023 Best Executive Award winners. He has spent the last 4 years working closely with Blue Jay's customers, developers, data science, and legal research teams building out Blue Jay's AI products, most recently launching Blue Jay's generative AI solution for tax research. Adam will be talking to us today about a pragmatic approach to AI product management. So without further ado, over to you, Adam.
Great, thank you very much. All right, so thank you for the great turnout tonight. Thank you for coming to listen to us and hear what we have to say about AI and product management. And before I jump into it here, I just want to be a good product person and get some alignment in the room, define some terms. So let's actually talk about what AI actually is. Let's define the term AI. And I turned to my good friend ChatGPT to get a definition of AI. Asked if you're the world's leading expert on artificial intelligence, define the term artificial intelligence. Gives a pretty good answer. A couple key things that I want to highlight that it picks up on here in the response is it talks about it being a multidisciplinary field, and that's key. I'm going to be coming back to that a couple times. It really talks about creating algorithms that help us perform tasks that would ordinarily require human intelligence. And that's really important. That's really what we're doing here. And there's a lot of different ways that we come at that, and I'll talk about what that looks like. But there's a few different types of AI that we really talk about. It really falls into two broad categories, again, just to define terms before we get into the work that I actually do. But you'll hear weak or narrow AI referred to, and that's really focused on specific tasks with specific abilities that are not really trying to mimic human consciousness and human intelligence. That's strong AI. Sorry. I think we're missing the slide here, but that's right. Strong AI is actually really mimicking human intelligence. It's trying to be a human consciousness. And how we come at this, really when we're talking about AI, is a whole range of approaches. It's going to be anything from supervised learning, it's going to be unsupervised learning, computer vision, robotics. There's a whole whack of terms that are referred to when we talk about the space of AI, what AI actually encompasses. That's a whole range of technologies and tools, different types, different categories. What I'm going to talk to you about today is natural language processing. That's really the space that I work in legal tech and the work that we do. And of course, natural language processing has been made most famous recently by ChatGPT. And I'm sure many of you have seen a slide that looks something like this about the explosive growth in ChatGPT and generative AI, brought enormous attention to the topic of AI. That's why we have a full room here tonight. I'm sure it's hard to imagine that it's only been 11 months since ChatGPT came out. We're not even a year into this world of ChatGPT and generative AI. What happened after ChatGPT came out is everybody lost their collective minds. Everybody freaked out and thought suddenly we had strong AI, that we had human consciousness, we had human intelligence, these machines are talking to us, they have personalities. And I'm sorry, but that is just not true. So we turn back to our friend ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT if it is weak AI, narrow AI, or is it strong AI? And it will tell us it's actually weak AI because ChatGPT is really focused on the narrow job of working with language. You ask it something, it responds back. That's what it's designed to do. And it's statistic modeling that allows it to actually do that. But everybody lost their collective minds because it feels like magic when it works. It seems like it's talking to you. And it's that feeling, that emotional resonance that we all got the first time we used ChatGPT. I still remember it. The first time that I went in and used one of these tools, and it just blew my mind. This is different, and it felt different. And we saw that in the legal tech space where you have lawyers who ply their trade, working with words, working with text, and now suddenly this tool comes along that is phenomenal at working with text and working with documents. So much like many other people, I'm sure, that have been working in this space for the last year, collective roadmaps blew up all around us, and we refocused and we started to look at what we could actually do with this technology. We had been using technologies like GPT-3 for a while, for years in fact, experimenting with them, exploring them, seeing what they could do. But it wasn't until GPT 3.5 came along that suddenly we're in a different world here. It could do things that we've just never seen before. And that's really exciting. This so-called weak AI, narrow AI, is actually super powerful. It can do a lot of really, really incredible things. So the product I work on is a tax research product, generative AI product, where we're actually answering tax research questions for lawyers and accountants. And the things that it does, the use cases, is efficient tax research. It's going to help with faster drafting, and it's going to be able to summarize documents. What we're trying to provide are verifiable answers to the lawyers and accountants that use our product, unlike ChatGPT, where you don't know the source that it relied on, it could hallucinate, you don't know. We want to be able to deliver verifiable answers to our users. So that's all just to set context on what I do and what I work on, and I guess my bona fides to talk on this topic of what it's like to actually build one of these AI products. And if you take anything away from this talk tonight, the one thing I want you to take away is the fundamentals of what it takes to be a good PM don't change. You focus on the basics, you get in there and you do the work of a PM. There are unique challenges to building an AI product, and I'll touch a little bit on what those are. But the actual fundamentals, the essence of being a good product manager, they don't change. Communication, collaboration, being able to work across a multidisciplinary team, as ChatGPT so eloquently put it, is super critical. You need to be able to work with data scientists, you need to be able to work with lawyers, you need to bring these people together in a collaborative environment to actually build these products. So I'll touch a little bit on what that actually looks like. I want to talk about three key things here. First off, I want to talk about mindset, the mindset you need to bring to actually building an AI product. If you're going to go into the space, you're going to do this work, you need to have the right mindset if you're going to come and do this. I'll touch on what some of those unique challenges actually are to doing this work, and I'll talk about a few lessons learned on my side along the way. Again, I can talk from the realm of natural language processing, not so much on computer vision side of things or robotics, just to set the context of the work that I do. So this is all coming from that frame of reference. Every product is different. The principles of product management don't change. We're just working at a different space. Okay, mindset. So first thing is going back to November 29th, I think, when ChatGPT came along and the world changed. Fundamentally, you realize, okay, nobody knows anything here. Everything is different now. Having a growth mindset and being able to focus on learning is just fundamental. If you're not reading about this stuff every day, if you're not learning about it, then you have this feeling that you're falling behind. That's not entirely true. I'll tell you that off the top, but bringing a beginner's mindset to this work is absolutely fundamental because it is changing and it is changing rapidly. The capabilities are changing every day, and you need to constantly learn and develop and improve. That's no different than you would learning about better positioning for your product or how to sell it. It's just a different subject matter that you're learning. Don't be afraid to dive in, roll up your sleeves, and learn this stuff. It's not magic. It feels like magic, but it's not magic. A lot of it is statistical modeling, and you can understand how these things are built. You can build your own AI tools, and it's actually really exciting to do that. So you need to bring the right mindset, that beginner's mindset, to building these products. Secondly, you need to be ready to collaborate. You need to be able to be ready, and you need to be ready to cross-functionally collaborate with a lot of different people with a lot of different skill sets and coordinate those people to effectively deliver these products. Again, that's no different than any other product work that you would do, bringing people together to build these products. But the range of subject matter expertise that you're going to need to bring together to successfully deliver this kind of a product to market is very, very different. So you need to be able to identify who those experts are. You need to be able to bring those people together, get them working together, and get them talking the same language. Which brings us to subject matter expertise. So it's really important to understand the product trio. Teresa Torres talks eloquently about it. Looks like this. You have the product person or team working with the tech team, who are also working with the designers to bring this product together. If you haven't read Continuous Discovery Habits, read Continuous Discovery Habits. Great book. Teresa talks eloquently on this subject. But in the range of AI products and the work that we're doing and what we're building, that's not enough. You need to bring that subject matter expert into the fold of the product trio, because me as a product person, I have my own expertise of what it takes to actually build products and bring them to market. But if I'm working on a generative AI product for tax research, how do I know that the answer that the product just gave me is a good answer? I have no idea. I don't know if this is what a lawyer expects to get out of this product. I need a lawyer in the loop to educate me on what it is I should be looking for, to spot the inaccuracies and what the model might be saying. If we're saying this is a verifiable answer that we're delivering, I need the subject matter expertise on our team to tell me that I'm actually building the right thing that the market's going to want, and that they're going to respond the way that I want to respond to it. So it's really, really fundamental to bring the subject matter expertise into the fold. Okay, so I said there are some unique challenges to building AI products, and I want to talk a little bit about what those look like. So the first one is aligning the capabilities of the technology with the goals of the organization. And that's a moving target, because the technology is changing. Those are the goals of the organization. And what we found and what we've learned, again, is you can't lose your mind in this space, because the technology is changing so rapidly. You will break your neck if you're constantly trying to change your goals to match the capabilities of the technology. You need to stay informed about where the technology is going. Again, you need to have the discipline to make good bets, to make data-informed bets, and carry out with conviction against the bets that you're making. That doesn't mean you put your head in the sand and you're ignorant to where the technology is going. That goes back to the beginner's mindset and taking a growth mindset approach, constantly learning, so that the next bet you make is even better informed and you can keep it moving. But it's really important to understand that this technology is changing rapidly, and you need to kind of maintain that alignment and manage that tension between the speed that the technology is evolving, the capabilities that you're looking to deliver to the market as part of your product, and the goals of your organization. What are you actually trying to do? What problem are you trying to solve? So it's really difficult to manage that tension effectively. And again, you're going to go a layer deeper and say, okay, well, that's fine. I can manage that tension at a technology level. But if I want to build this model, I need the data. What does that actually look like? What is the data that this model is actually using to generate language, to generate answers? And that's really challenging to say, okay, well, this model that we're going to give us answers back, again, going back to that idea of verifiable answers that these legal subject matter experts are going to look at and say that's a good answer, or that's not a good answer. What is the quality of the data that's underpinning that? The reason you can't go directly to ChatGPT and just get an answer to a legal research question is it doesn't have the right data to properly provide that answer. So you need to think very, very carefully about what your data set is. How do you curate that data set? What happens when the law is dynamic? The law changes, and now suddenly a portion of your data set is no longer valid. It's been invalidated because the law changed. How do you curate that data? How do you make sure now that the answers that you were producing before, that your legal research team said were great answers, are no longer any good because the underlying data is no longer any good? It's really, really tricky. So taking a really, really nuanced look at the data that you're using, how you manage that data, how you curate it, how you ensure the quality of the data on an ongoing basis is really fundamental. Again, in the realm of natural language models and the work that we do. Then third, again, multidisciplinary collaboration it's absolutely fundamental to what we do. It's a theme. It's why ChatGPT says that this is important. But what's tricky here, why this is a unique challenge, is you need everybody speaking the same language. And what does that mean? Well, the lawyers that we work with on our team, they didn't go to law school to learn about vector databases and Pinecone. They have no idea what that is. So when we start talking about statistical models, they don't have the context to actually have that conversation effectively with the data science to say, hey, if you change the prompt like this, you're going to get a different result out. So it's a collaborative effort to level up the organization's own knowledge on what we're actually working on here. What do they need to know? What do the data scientists need to know about legal research? So it's a kind of a two-sided coin here to make sure that both the lawyers are learning the data science capabilities and the data scientists are learning what they need to know about building legal products. They need to have the legal knowledge to actually build it. So those are a couple of the unique challenges that we've run into building products that we're building. And of course, we've learned some lessons along the way of what it actually looks like to build these products. First lesson is make sure you're actually solving problems. Don't build a chat solution based on generative AI because it's cool tech that is blowing people's minds. That's not the right reason to do it. In our space, it made sense to do it because lawyers work with documents and words. They're trying to do that efficient research. They're trying to draft documents. This kind of a solution makes sense. It solves a real pain point, a real problem for them. So again, getting back to the fundamentals of what it takes to be a good PM, make sure you get out, you talk to your customers, make sure you understand the problem that your product is solving. Does AI make sense for this? How can AI help actually deliver a good product here in this space? So again, focus on the problems you're solving for your customers. Secondly, building trust is absolutely fundamental to this and something that we've run into consistently with bringing these models to market in the space that we work in. They want to know, how can I trust this? How do I know that what you're putting in front of me isn't going to hallucinate? They've seen the articles about ChatGPT making up cases in the news. It's really difficult, and they want to know, how can I trust this technology? So we have really put in a lot of work to make sure that they can actually verify the answers that are coming out of our product, and that it's actually really solving a problem for them, and that they understand how to deploy this technology in a secure and responsible way in their own environments and into their own practice. So that building trust is a two-way conversation between us and our customers and the market, and we really focus on that as a key pillar to the work that we're doing. Last piece here is just making sure that you understand feedback loops in your product. And of course, any product is going to want to learn from data. You're going to want to learn from your feedback loops. You're going to want to understand how people are using it. This gets magnified in this space when you want to learn from how users are using your models, how they're working with it, how that can inform the way you might improve your algorithm. So much of this is happening under the hood, not at a service level. It's not changing the color of a button. It's not nudging behavior in a certain way. We're talking about fundamental changes to algorithms. So it's really, really important but you understand the feedback loops of the data in your product and how that's going to inform the improvements in the model. So that's a very high level skate across the surface of what it actually takes to build AI products. Again, it's important to just focus on the fundamentals, the communication, the collaboration, and again, just keep in mind that much like with any product, the key to learn how to build these products is to go build them. There's no other way. You just roll up your sleeves, bring in that growth mindset, bring a beginner's mind to the table, and start building. This isn't science fiction. It's not magic. You can do it. You can learn it. There are tons of tools out there, so just go for it and start building. That's it.
Thank you so much, Adam. I must say I agree with everything you said. And we already have some questions in the Slido, so feel free to add to those, but also please take a look at the existing questions and give them a thumbs up rather than type in the question if yours is already there. All right, so we're going to move on now to the second part of our event tonight. Our next speaker is Sam Kawsarani. He is VP of Product at Paramount Commerce, a product leader who can synthesize market trends into visions, loves to build product strategy with an entrepreneurial mindset, and drives growth by staying nimble and innovative. His track record consists of a long history of successes, failures, and hard lessons. Even though his sweet spot has always been 0 to 1, these days he's obsessed with optimization and scale. Sam leads by example, leads to serve others, and leads to inspire. He's passionate about combining the best of technology, data, and design to execute a successful product vision. When he's not doing product, he's being a dad, studying clean tech, promoting sustainability, and reimagining ways to make our planet greener. Sam is going to give us a talk today about riding the wave, transforming product management with AI. Over to you, Sam.
Hey everyone, thanks Nahla. Wait. We don't have to go about me. I think Nahla did a great job on that one. So Adam started with product thing, defining assumptions and keywords. I'm going to start with a quick customer discovery. So we here think AI will replace product managers. Raise your hand.
I'm right.
Wow. Okay, we're really getting to this video product. All right, that's good. So we don't have a lot of pessimistic folks in the room today, so there's still hope for us. All right. So the question is, after will AI replace or basically take our job as product management? Yes and no. Probably in certain areas, AI will absolutely change things and take over. But when it comes to product management, I don't know. Will it make it obsolete? Maybe eventually. I don't have an answer yet, but if we look at the state of AI today, potentially. How? We don't know yet. That's a big question for us as an industry. And I think that's the thing with every new technology, is we always have that doomsday mentality, right? Where since the history of innovation, since the history of technology, the steam engine, industrial revolution, will this technology take over human beings' work? Will it take, when we have to be at home, are we going to lose our jobs? It's always been a question throughout history, and I don't think this is any different. It just means we're going to have to innovate and pivot how we work as a society or as product managers or any other career. I think we covered it. It's about adaptation. We've seen it throughout history, and we're going to continue. And Adam did a great job on how the mindset is still the same in product management, and this is no different than just learning new tools and how we incorporate them. I do want to take a pause here, though, before we dive into how product management will be influenced by AI. There's two keywords here we have to kind of differentiate between: skills and activities. So if we look at activities in our day-to-day as PMs or product owners, this is story writing or some technical writing or basic things like planning a sprint, analyzing data that came in from a user discovery. On the other hand, there are skills. These are the abilities and proficiencies that we gain throughout our experience, whether it's leadership, whether understanding our market, the subject matter expertise. There's one skill set as well that AI does not yet have. Can anyone guess what it is? Exactly. Empathy is one of those skills. As PMs, AI is not there. Sure, you can probably whip something out with AI and have AI give you an empathetic response based on what an empathetic response would look like. But is it really empathy? And that's not there yet. And that's why I said, will AI change product management up down the road or take over? I don't know, maybe. But until we've had that sentient human being in AI, we're probably not there yet. So how can actually AI change our job as a product manager? It's really by relying on the activities we do as product managers. So evolving is the key word. And I kind of touched base on that at the beginning. Will AI change it overall? Yes. We're just going to have to evolve as product managers. Now, if you're just sticking with your normal day-to-day activities as a PM, which is sprint planning and telling engineers what the status is, or filling this in the pipeline, etc., you probably shouldn't be worried about your job already, even if there's no AI. The job of product manager has evolved over time. We used to be more the project management mindset, making sure things are being delivered. But it's no longer that. As PMs, we own the product, right? We're the experts on it. We are considered the business side and the business unit of things. Engineering managers have stepped up a lot to lead the project status side and the project management side of things. So our role as product managers has been evolving for the past few years. AI or not. So how can AI really be the future in product management? How can it help us? So I'm going to approach it from just a pure product discovery, or product development process. If we break that down, how would it look like? So first thing, market and user research. One of the lengthiest processes in product management, your customer discovery is doing your user interviews. There's a lot of data that come out of that. AI can really, and I'm not talking just generative AI, I'm talking AI in general, right? There's a huge role for AI here, how it can influence how we collect user research, how we analyze user research. There's even tools in the market right now, if you feed it your past historical user test results, it can predict if a feature will actually be successful or not, based on your previous historical user research. So kind of building that persona automatically for users based on the interviews and the data you've collected. Idea management. There's more to it than okay, doing the continuous discovery and figuring out what the data is. How can you build your potential ideas that you'll fill your roadmap or you'll fill your pipeline? There's a lot of that iteration, building your personas and figuring out what this persona likes, what could a potential problem solver be. AI can be a big part of it. I've actually recently used it to come up with a bunch of ideas for a roadmap. As well, I'm solving this problem in this industry. What are potential pain points that I can go tackle and do a discovery on, especially in the early stages of your product, when you're trying to do market product fit or you're just trying to iterate. There's a lot of things that you can automate here and can collect feedback. Think about it as a supercharged Google research engine, right? Technical specification, whether product or engineering. So let's start with the basics. User stories, ethics. You can create a lot of templates, especially when it's time crunching, you don't have the resources. There's a lot of AI, and especially here, generative AI can take place to help you do that. And when I'm talking about technical specifications, I'm not just really talking about like a business requirements document or your product key. If you just look at even API specs, like this is something engineers can rely on. Automation of tests, or thinking about what are the things you need to create from a user acceptance criteria, especially if, as a PM, you're getting into a new industry. One example is I led a PM team in an accounting data as a service company. Not everyone is an accounting professional. So when you're trying to build test cases, well, what should my product do from a user acceptance criteria? If you don't know accounting or if you haven't been a CPA in previous life, you're not going to be able to cover it. And that's where AI can come in and help you give examples. Well, these are some things that a user might do to follow that flow and allow you to build on that. Product roadmaps. I don't think AI is going to be at a point where like, here's your roadmap, go execute it and sell it to the executive. We're not there. This is where your skill set and your expertise in the market will help. I would love for that to happen, where like, can you shuffle your roadmap every other month because the exec changes their minds again? That will be helpful. You're going to understand your execs better. But what comes in is understanding how your product roadmap ties to company objectives. One example would be you've set your OKRs, you know what your goals are for the year. You can feed it your list of features, priorities, and okay, well, can you come up with a potential roadmap based on what we know about the business, based on what we know where the initiatives are? How could a potential roadmap look? But just keep in mind, This is just a draft, it's a tool. AI is just like any other tool we use, it's just to help us do something. It's not the final result. Adam and I and a couple of others were talking about how AI can potentially encourage the laziness in us as individuals. Because a lot of folks might, well, I fed this through AI, and here's the result. I'm just going to send it to my manager. I'm just going to go present it. Trust me, people will know if you've done no work and just took this as is, especially if your product will not look something completely different from what the company does. So again, it's just a tool. It's a trap. Happened. I've tried it too. All of this is based also on experiments I tried through my career. I've tried the roadmap. It did not work so well. Prioritization kind of alludes to the web side, but one of the things you do is every stakeholder has different prioritizations. Someone might have prioritization for a different side of the product. Your team might identify something else based on customer success story or customer support issue. This can help you kind of sift through everything and potentially come up with an ideal prioritization list. But at the end of the day, it's your skill set, your understanding of your customer, your understanding of the business, the pain points that your industry goes through, that will help you come up with that prioritization. So the key word here is skill set. And that's why I'm focusing a lot on activities here, but at the end of the day, it's your skill set that can tell me if this is an acceptable result or not. Product development. We're not automating engineers yet, I swear. But what I'm talking about here is more, we talked about test case automation as an example. Copy for your product. It's, if you're working in a startup, you don't have a product marketing or you don't have a UX copy that's going to help you kind of come up with a nice, sexy copy that's going to attract everyone for your product. I can actually do a really great job in this, especially if you're asking me to optimize for SEO from whether it's a release note, whether it's a product launch campaign, or even just a pure copy and for the CTA you have for your product. So all of this, if you kind of capture it all together, gives you a nice tool set to make your job easier. So the keynote here, the biggest takeaway, please use this as a tool, not as a replacement. So will it actually replace everything? Probably not. So if you look at customer feedback collection as the last thing, one thing that gets forgotten about product development process is, all right, I've done a customer discovery. Here's a blank email that thank you for participating in our user discovery. Sounds like that, right? Thank you for participating in our user discovery. We appreciate your help. We will get back to you about the timeline of this feature. Pretty much every customer discovery ends with that email. Maybe some personalization, you have the person's name. But if you embed AI in this process, you're able now to understand each person's persona of each individual you've talked to, what their pain points are. You can have feedback loops with their customer discovery where you can really tailor your message or your thank you note, wherever you want to do, to be adjusted to that individual who had a discovery. But also automating the way you capture that feedback, whether through the platform, having kind of engagement through your product in-app specifically, and kind of having AI diversify or kind of divide your personas for each user and kind of send them to the flow as needed. So to close, my closing thoughts on this, which I mentioned a couple of times, please use this as a tool. And I think that's been one of the issues I've personally encountered with my team, with a lot of folks in the industry when I'm talking about AI, is this is a replacement. So we don't need to do this. I can just plug this in, here's the result. We talked about it earlier, we're perpetually creating B minus flags. And is there a way around it? I don't know. But I think that's how you can tell A players in the market, A-player product manager or supercharged product managers in the industry. So at the end of the day, AI is powerful. Yes, will it replace our job as a product manager? As of today, I say no, because there's a certain skill sets like we have as PMs that I don't think anyone will automate this. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We're going to transition to Q&A right now. I'm going to go off the Slido and we have a sort of clear winner in terms of the questions. The first one is, how much AI technical knowledge or data science ML background should an AI product manager have? Who wants to start?
Yeah, I can probably take that one. And I think the answer to that, at least from my perspective, is you don't need any. Like, you can get in there, roll up your sleeves and do the work and figure it out again, which is why it's a function of learning. The secret here is, as this has exploded in the last little bit, nobody knows anything. Like, we didn't know what any of this stuff was 2-3 years ago. So as long as you bring that mindset of learning to the table, and you have demonstrated capability in a sort of learning and applying whatever your background knowledge is to any product that you've worked on, and you can clearly articulate how you're going to bring that basis of sort of learning and development and growth to whatever AI product you're working on, this stuff can be learned. You should certainly have a working knowledge of it if you're going to go work at an AI company. Again, that gets back to learning and knowing and developing and growing. So you need to be able to be conversant in it. But in terms of having a background in data science, I have product managers on my team that had no background in data science. They rolled up their sleeves, they learned it, and they know how to just get in there, ask questions, be curious, not afraid to look like you don't know what you're talking about, because this can all be learned. It's out there and you can learn it.
Thanks, Adam. I think the next question is for you as well. Working in the legal field, how do you resolve the challenge of sharing potential sensitive data with the AI at an enterprise level? We also had another question sort of about the tension between privacy and the use of data, if you want to touch on it.
Yeah, so it's a tricky question. It's really tough. So Blue Jay, the company that I work at, we're SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We follow the security protocols of our SOC 2 certification. Our clients are very concerned about security. The thing that they're worried about is what they would refer to often to us as leakage, that the data that they put in is going to go back into the general models and it's going to get out in the wild. And that's a valid concern. They should certainly be concerned about that. So from a product design perspective, we made a very deliberate choice that we were going to design it in such a way that we're not going to intake their documents or their sensitive data. So they can prompt it like a legal research tool. They can ask it general research questions and get very helpful answers that are far more efficient than they can get anywhere else. But some of the onus is on them to be responsible about how they implement it. We work with them to make sure that they're being responsible in how they train and roll it out to their people. So it's a collaborative effort. But certainly it was design decisions on our part to make sure that we were limiting what that intake looked like and making sure that we have the security protocols in place at a model level, that it's not going into training the model. We leverage the model to generate the answer, but it's not going into training the model directly. So it's a tricky line that we walk down to handle that, and I hopefully that addressed all components of the question.
Thank you. All right, we have another popular question. What role does product managers play exactly in developing data products if the requirements and use cases are clearly defined? Sam, what do you think?
From just a pure data product?
Yes, I think people are, it's sort of a bit similar to the first question. I think people are curious to know how different the job is when you're product managing a data product.
It's really no different. Like, I think Adam covered it. Our job as a product manager really to go in, understand what the problem is, and figure out what the best solution is for our customers. Whether it's a data product, non-data product, in fact, even if it's a hardware product. Our job as PMs really is the same. At the core of it is solving a problem for our users. Whether that is the data or not, should not check. There's probably some additional learning curves using new tools or new technology, but it's no different than what you do today.
Thank you, I agree. Right, we have another popular question. You mentioned there are tons of great tools to build AI products. Which ones are your favorite or your top three? I can't remember which one you guys.
For us, using the tools or just building an AI product?
I think using the tools. Yeah.
Pretty much every tool used right now in a product has some AI or co-pilot integrated from it. So if you look at basic product tools, you have product board, for example, integrated AI to summarize your epics or your customer feedback. Intercom has AI kind of to help automate your customer interviews, your app walkthroughs. Pretty much think about every tool out there. The theme this year and next year is some feature called Copilot. So pretty much it's there. Loom, Slack have some AI now to summarize which is my favorite feature, is when I have a Slack with 200 messages in a thread. There's like AIs will just summarize takeaways, which is perfect. So pretty much think about every tool out there, they have AI on the roadmap. So I don't have specific like which one I use. Pretty much the tools I use on my day-to-day basis has just evolved to have a feature that supports AI that's making my job easier.
Right. Next question, what metrics do you review often for your AI model and why? I guess this is case dependent, so if any of you guys want.
Yeah, so I don't want to get into the specifics about what we use because that's I probably skewing into trade secret territory. So I'm not going to be specific about what we use, but I will say that you definitely need metrics to evaluate your model, and how you craft that is going to be very specific to the use case and the problem that you're solving. So how you might tailor the metrics that you're going to use to evaluate the algorithm, the output, the data that is underpinning the model that you're building, those need to be tuned in such a way that you have confidence and conviction that what you're building and what you're delivering is actually doing the job that you that your brand promise says that thing is doing. So I think to a degree it's going to be very context dependent on what it is your model, or really any AI product, what it's designed to do. What a self-driving car's kind of underpinning metrics of success might be is going to be very different than what a language-based model is going to be. So you certainly need it, and that's kind of getting back to the idea of subject matter expertise. That's why you need those subject matter experts involved to help you collaboratively define what those metrics are going to be. Like so often as product managers, we want to set the KPIs and the metrics and we want to define it. And that's not a solo exercise in this case. You need to be working with the experts that are going to help you craft those metrics the right way.
I'll take a different approach in this essentially. So pretty much every AI product out there is using OpenAI, right? It's not like every AI company is building their own models. So I look at how would I measure it? I look at it just from pure product perspective, right? So if I launch an AI feature, whether your own model or a different model, outsourced model, whatever it is, what is the success rate for helping the user achieve what they want? So if the job was to summarize a certain task, are customers repeating this task? Are they coming back to use it? Is it just the way you would measure or track any successful feature, any successful product? I would measure it the same way. Because think about there's actually a meme video out there, like how if OpenAI goes down tomorrow as a service, every AI company will be like freaking out there because they're all using OpenAI APIs. So yes, I think what you touched base on is 100% accurate. But if you look at it from kind of a rudimentary approach, it's how you measure success of your product for your customers.
Thank you for that. Right. So the next question is, what if you're implementing a feature that an AI-centered feature can do better? However, stakeholders prefer the first rather than the AI. What do you do? I think maybe I'll rephrase that question more about sort of the change management of implementing AI for an existing product.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about aligning capabilities with the business goals. And I think I have a couple of thoughts on this, and I don't have a clear answer, I guess a clear direct answer, but I can share experience that you want to make your recommendations as a PM. You want to provide the information. You want to go back to the fundamentals of doing the job. You want to bring your stakeholders along the journey. You want to explain how AI can likely solve this problem in a different way, maybe get to a better answer. You want to show value for users, how AI is going to deliver that value if you build it with AI instead of maybe using more traditional methods. So those are conversations that need to be managed, and you need to bring people along on the journey with you. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be tricky if the stakeholders of the business want to go in a different direction. Then you can only sort of bring it as far as you can as a PM, make your case, disagree and commit, and try again. Like that's just how we have to do it sometimes. But what I would say is it kind of comes back to that idea of sort of learning and bringing that beginner's mind to the table. The best thing you can do is bring people along on that journey with you. As you're learning things, as you're discovering, as you're getting excited about it, bring that energy, kind of be that energy within the companies that you work at, so that people get excited about what these tools can do. If they don't have the vision of where this is going and how it can be done a different way, it's going to be really hard to get that buy-in.
I wouldn't add anything to it. I think you summarized it perfectly. And in the case where they don't really want to use AI, you can just tell them in 6 months when they, why are we seeing so much churn in our product? Well, that's why.
Well, I know no one here is really interested in my opinion, but I'll mention something that I've done in the past, sort of along the lines of change management. We were doing like some sort of forecasting, and the users were sort of, set in their ways. So we actually, when we launched that feature, we allowed them to override the predictions that we were making. And we saw that feature sort of getting used. But then over time, as people sort of trusted the product and the feature more, we actually saw a decline in that overriding feature. So yeah, I think essentially, rather than thinking about the technology and AI, think about change management and user psychology.
Great point. Yeah.
Thank you. So the next question actually is an interesting one from Priyanka. In agile iterative AI product development, how to ensure business stakeholders are an integrated part of product building process? Is there an org structure to follow?
Agile, iterative.
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about this and see if I can address the question here. So I think if you want to go down this road of bringing AI into the product development practice, if you're going to be bringing AI in, again, center it on the problems that you're solving. And if everybody's centered on the problem first and foremost, and how this is going to benefit the users, and how bringing AI as a component in is going to generate business results. So again, getting back to that idea of not tech for tech's sake, but here is legitimately how this is going to bring the business forward in some meaningful way, be it revenue, be it usage, be it whatever. Stakeholders care about business results fundamentally at the end of the day. They're not going to be excited about the new AI-driven feature. They're going to be excited about how this AI-driven feature is going to 10x our revenue. That's what they want to hear. So if you can show them how this feature is going to have a real impact on business, whatever that definition is going to be, that's how you kind of bring stakeholders along the journey, at least in my experience, is get them excited about where this goes, not for the tech's sake, but for the results that this can deliver in user experience, usage, growth in revenue, whatever that looks like. But again, they need to be sort of collectively brought along that journey with you.
Just to add to it, so not every product might evolve to have AI, right? So not every product needs to have AI. Just like not every company needed to have blockchain in their design. There's always some washing happening. Blockchain washing, AI washing, green tech washing. Like our industry is full of those buzzwords that we love to do, right? Especially execs. So just because your product does not have an AI feature does not mean you don't have to write the formal way or need to use AI as a product manager as a skill set, right? You can still use it in your day-to-day activities and tasks, even if your company is not mass adopting AI. I know a lot of folks that friends, colleagues that started using AI in their work. They've actually paid ChatGPT licenses on a monthly basis just because they notice they're able to get shit done, pardon my French, way faster, especially when you not have the manpower and the resources to get things what you need to do. So again, there's always a ways of using it. So if you really, I guess the question, how can you integrate it within the development process? It's some of the stuff I alluded to, copy, ideation, research, etc. You can plug all of those, even if your team is not using them. It should be faster, probably.
I don't know what the case has been in companies you guys worked at, but for me, it's always been a challenge to incorporate the data scientists and the machine learning engineers into the product development process, just because they sort of work at a different cadence and they have a different skill set, and not everyone is happy to sit down in a room and listen to each other in a
Timelines don't make sense to me.
So I do think that question sort of touched on a great point, which is that org structure really matters, and I'm a big fan of cross-functional teams. and sort of not waiting for an AI superstar who's going to be able to manage a data science team separately and at the same time be able to talk directly to the business stakeholders. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can kind of share that in our experience, there's a tension between this multidisciplinary need to build AI products and functional structures of an organization that have developed over time. So just because AI showed up and you want to implement AI and you recognize that it's going to be a multidisciplinary approach, it's going to be a cross-functional collaboration approach to building, doesn't mean you can just immediately break down all of the pre-existing structures of the business and be like, okay, we're doing this now, and we all need to kind of get together and build. So there's sort of a delicacy to how you bring people like the ML data scientist team into the room to be part of those product discussions. But certainly, in my experience, what I've found is if you're working around goals that you've all aligned on at the highest level of saying, okay, this is what we're going to do as a business, and sort of cascade down from there. Like, this is directionally where we're going. This is the North Star that we're working towards. Here's how we see we're going to get there in terms of the business initiatives that we're going to take on. Then the way to accomplish that kind of organically emerges from it, while respecting the pre-existing structures of the organization. So I can't necessarily recommend that this is the right organizational structure design. I think that that's very specific to the company, the culture of the company, the way that you build product, and not every company builds product the same way. But what I can say is that it all starts around the goals, what you're trying to do, why you think that this is going to have an impact, and then building the right teams of people, bringing the right expertise into the room to actually deliver on those goals is the way to kind of get that done in my experience. And that sort of, you recognize, to say, if we want to get this goal done, like the product that I mentioned that we're working on, if we want to ship this thing, we all need to be in the same room figuring this out together. There's just no choice. There's no other way to do it. We need the expertise of all these people. So get at the table and let's get it going.
Yeah, just to add to that, there's probably some change management that needs to be done as well. Just because you have all the resources, putting them together, you're not going to have a synchronized band from day one, right? So there's a bit of change management to kind of have to tailor everyone's expertise to the goal that you have within the organization.
Great. Right, moving on. What are your thoughts on potential government regulations limiting AI use in consumer software?
I think we're starting to see some of it happen later, more about AI protection from our doomsday. So that's been the Reddit threads if you read them. But I think if we look at it from how can you incorporate AI in legal, how can you incorporate AI in banks, the SOC 2 compliance, what's happening in data, I think that's going to go back to evolving certain privacy and data laws that we have to take that in consideration. Is your data on the cloud? Is whatever you're learning from an AI perspective going back and being sure? So all of these, especially in the legal industry, I can imagine, securities or financial, that's probably have to be kind of a private version of AI that's being run internally. Regulations, and there's always going to be some regulators sniffing how they can make things worse for everyone else. Happens throughout history from each industry. But you can regulate so much, right? Like there's always going to be ways around regulation. I think it's just more about the user experience and kind of how can you have create that trust factor for someone to use your product, even though that's AI enabled. But I think from a regulatory perspective, I don't know if there's going to be like a specific SOC 2 version of AI as much as evolving our current regulatory framework to capture that. Also, you want to do it in a way where you're not going to kill innovation when it's such an infancy stage, right? I think it's a bit early to have that kind of full regulatory framework that's going to start putting handcuffs on everyone doing development in the space. But I think it's just going to come in from more data protection, data privacy and security perspective, not like, can AI do this, AI not do that. At least that's my perspective on things.
Yeah, I'll share some additional thoughts. I believe just earlier today, President Biden signed an executive order about AI and governance and security. It's going to happen. I think that this is kind of a natural development in the history of AI technology, that this was bound to happen. More of it is going to happen. I think the onus is on private industry, on companies, on experts to advocate for the right regulation that doesn't stymie innovation. That's our responsibility as innovators and developers and product leaders in the space, to manage that conversation to a degree, to point people in the right direction and to demystify these things. When I said earlier, you see the emotional reaction of Bing is like about to fall in love with me and stalk me, that you need to demystify that for people that don't necessarily have the same insight into how this technology actually works. So those are very emotional reactions to something that is maybe not as well understood as it could be. So I believe personally that there's an onus on those of us in the tech space working in this industry, building these kind of technologies, to lead some of that discussion, to make sure that as regulation emerges, and regulation will emerge, there's no getting around it. Even the Canadian government has AI policies. They have approved vendor lists. There's regulations and policies in place already. There will be more as generative AI continues to develop. We have a responsibility to lead that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the ethical AI aspect of things, right? So there's been regulations in different industries. Like the reason why I like to give example, for example, here is blockchain or just crypto. There's been certain regulations in certain countries, and there's companies that have violated those regulations. And there's companies, even though they self-regulate themselves and just operate at that ethical perspective of funding the business. So you got like private, it's up to us as private companies to ensure that we have ethical AI products, and we're doing regulations or not. If you want to do shady stuff, you're going to do it whether there's a regulation or not. Just a matter of how is running the business model and how can you get protect the user at the end of the day.
Our next question is, for a company that's not sure about their AI strategy, are there safe bets that they can start with before finalizing their AI strategy? I feel there's sort of an underlying assumption there, but I'll leave it to you guys to understand.
Well, you can start with, do you need an AI strategy in the first place, right? So I don't know, this industry amazes me sometimes. It's great to see innovation, but it seems we always want to jump on the next cool thing, right? Just whether you're raising money or like you have to throw AI, you have to throw some other buzzword. But if where to start, identify your need, right? Which starts by what is your customer's need? And if you do see AI helping, can you see your customers doing better or customers' problem getting even solved easier with AI? Then yes, if you've answered those questions where you can see a path for AI in your product, then start considering the strategy of AI. The next thing is like, where should you start? Right? Do you start with simple, mundane tasks in your product, or do you want to focus generally from an operations perspective? That strategy, I can't give you like a recipe that you can repeat. Every business is different, every pain point is different. But I would start with, do you even need one? I think that's the first question you have to answer.
I agree. Right. If you were to start your career in product management from the beginning, what might you do differently? Everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to go first on this one?
I mean, what I do differently, I don't know. I personally believe like every mistake that you've done along your career ends up being a lesson learned, right? I tell my teams that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. And yes, I've had my failures, I've had my successes, but that's what shaped me being a product leader today. I probably wouldn't have used more buzzwords throughout my career because I discovered later they had no place in the business. And I think that's why right now I'm cautious about every tool, about every technology that comes out. Would I do things differently? Maybe in certain areas, but what shaped who I am today, probably not.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can identify with a lot of what you just said, because I feel a lot of the same thing is, but everything that I know and am today is shaped by all the experiences that went before. So it's very hard to sort of retroactively think what I might have done different. The thing that kind of comes to mind immediately for me is just failing more. Like not being afraid to fail more. Like we talk about it a lot in product management. We're like, fail fast, but like ego gets involved at times. You're just like, hey, do I really want to fail here? So there's sometimes like this mental resistance we say these things about failing, but when it comes to sort of putting yourself out there and being like, I'm going to take this opinion, I'm going to do this thing, I can think of many opportunities in hindsight where I might have stepped away from making a recommendation or doing something out of fear of failure. So, and I think failure in my career has taught me so much at the times that I allowed that to come in. If I were to sort of go back and do anything again, it would be find more opportunities to fail.
Yeah, like you talked about fail, it's actually a good point. I was writing the other day something about imposter syndrome, and a buddy of mine commented that if you don't have imposter syndrome as a product manager, you're really comfortable in what you're doing. It's time to evolve in your career or your role, right? So that's like keep failing, right? Like if it's AI, just try it. Fails, doesn't work. Your exec tells you this is stupid. It's fine. You'll learn. You'll know what actually makes sense. And you can evolve from there.
Right. The next question is, any thoughts on adding generative AI to product documentation and knowledge base? Does it improve customer experience, save time searching topics for operations team?
1000% yes. Right? It's one of the best places to start with generative AI. If you look at generating content, there's documentation, especially technical documentation, is not rocket science. Right? It's not very different if you give the scope of your product when it does. Whether it's API schemas or just like pure product guides, if you explain things and you give the right prompts, you look at that. Especially if you put it in your search bars or your search kind of tool, you're seeing that in a lot of products out there, whether it's help centers or API documentation or guides, where now you're just not searching and hoping you'll find the keywords. You're getting more tailored responses that can learn what you look for, recommend certain pages that you can use, or even summarize certain content. So if you're reading how to use a certain product, you can like, well, how can I get up and running quickly? And it's gonna cycle through all the 15 pages that will tell you how to do things and just give you like a quick recipe how to get started. So I think that's one of the best examples of start with generative AI as a product, especially if your product does something like that.
Nothing to add to that, definitely. That's other than I'll just say, this is why for our product and the problem that we solve in the legal tech space, that's what lawyers are doing. They're reading documents, they're summarizing, they're drafting. It's another version of the same use case.
Right, we're going to take one more question. How big of a focus is QA in today's generative AI or AI context?
It's funny, my wife just asked me that yesterday when I was showing her the slide deck before I sent it. She said, where do you see QA? I have my own opinions about QA. I think it should be automated. No disrespect to anyone, but I think like the industry's been moving towards autonomous or automatic testing, right? Your integration tests, everything is embedded by developers. I personally think developers should be responsible for making sure their code works in the first place. So PMs don't have to deal with it. But so AI has kind of two ways it can help. One is building this automation test and actually potentially doing the test itself to tell you if the product works or not. The other part is identifying what to test. And I think the issues with bugs sometimes is there's always some edge case that you missed or something you didn't expect the user to do. AI can really come in handy to summarize all the possible happy path, non-happy path that you should be testing in your product and embed it as part of your development process.
Yeah, I'll answer from a different perspective, which is to say, I think the shape of QA may change. If you're working on models, the quality starts to come into play in terms of your data set. Like how have you curated your data? How do you know that you have high quality data? You're going to hear a lot in the coming years about how data is the new gold. Like that's what people are thinking about. But okay, great. How do I know I have gold nuggets? Like that's what you want to know from a QA perspective, is that this is actually good, useful data that is going to give me some positive return in whatever AI application that I'm looking at. So I can imagine the world of QA as we've thought about in terms of shipping bug-free products is going to change into thinking about QA from a different perspective. QA of your data, QA of your algorithm, which isn't as clear how you actually ensure QA of these algorithms. That's going to be very context dependent. It's going to be dependent on the kind of algorithm that you're shipping. And it's not obvious, it's all under the hood stuff. So I think the nature of what QA and how we as product leaders can come in and help manage that QA product is likely going to change and move away from what you're describing for exactly the reasons that you're describing it, because that's going to get automated into how code gets shipped more and more and more. But the shape of how we think about QA, I think, is going to change dramatically in the coming years.
Yeah, and I think if we're looking at QA in the traditional sense where you're clicking on screens to make sure things are breaking, that's been changing before AI, right? The test-driven development has been a theme for a few years now. I think that's, yeah, so data validation, model validation, and correctness, that will kind of probably part of your data engineers and data scientists kind of day-to-day to ensure that quality as an activity is probably going to still be there. You have to make sure whatever you're building works. The role of the QA probably, is it going to be a QA person as a title which can apply work? I don't know. Personally, I see it more slowly being integrated with development or the data engineering process. But the day-to-day QA that you see now, that's 100%. Just like product management or every role is going to evolve to kind of take advantage or leverage these tools.
And is there, like, do you guys see anything more specific with regards to generative AI, or do you see us also like creating AI tools to test generative AI tools?
It's like infinite regression of generative AI tools. It's like, well, who's building the generative AI to test the generative AI to test the generative AI? Yeah, it's yes-ish, I think, is the answer that I would give you on that one. From the perspective of, I can imagine generative AI playing a role in maybe developing test cases in terms of sort of testing concepts, but it's interesting when you get the models testing the models, which that is a real thing, by the way. Like that does happen, is you can leverage the models to test the models, and that is for sure a valid approach. But you need to be thoughtful about how you do that. That's one tool in the toolbox, but can't be the only tool, I don't think, in terms of how you would build these QA processes. So I think generative AI has a role to play. But I don't think that's the silver bullet. It's one of many AI tools that are out there and available, and I think it's going to be a whole mix of tools as we think about AI.
Yeah, I just see like generative AI evolving as well, especially when you have AI profiles when they launch with ChatGPT, right? So now it can recognize you as a user, know what your patterns, you as an individual. So if you look at that from a QA perspective or a business perspective, your AI as it evolves is going to know your business, is going to know your use cases, your customers. So when it does those QA and testing in general, it's going to know your business better to test it from the better perspective instead of just generic test cases based on some random generation.
Well, thank you so much, Adam and Sam, for such a wonderful talk. Thank you, everyone, for a very helpful meeting. Feel free to stay around for some networking. Thank you.
One last time, big round of applause for all three of our speakers. It wouldn't be a product management, networking session if we didn't ask for feedback. So please, if you have a second, we'll be posting it in the Slack channel for the group and online. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think, what we can do better, and yeah, enjoy networking for the next hour or so. So thank you so much for coming out.